Hi, I'm Harold Garde. I'm an American painter, and that's what I've been for quite a long time. And it's still what works for me, because when I get up in the morning and drag the whole body into the studio, the reason for doing it is today may be part of the best painting I ever did. I don't want this to be a discussion of my age. It's the first thing that comes up. And yes, I am not the same person I was a week ago, a year ago, 2 or 3 years ago. As I approach my 98th birthday, I am an old man. But I am an old man who still is rational, who still cares enough when I look at a painting. How well does that work? What does it say? What does it tell the world about me? Because that's still there. I may be fading. The painting is not. It's still important to me to know that I am a social being and that people like me, and I like painting as my activity. I want people to like me. I do not want them to like my painting. Liking is saying it's nice, it's deadly, it doesn't have the energy, it doesn't have the vitality and challenge that I want to be there still in my paintings. And if they are valid, it's because they challenge you, they want the viewer to actually partake in the process of understanding one of my paintings. We need art because it requires critical thinking. There is not one way. The idea is that we live in a society now in which conformity is made so important, whereas individuality is challenged all the time, and the unique voice is not trusted. The voice that repeats itself is indeed, and we are suffering the consequence of that, of accepting leadership, where leadership is certainly not honored in my mind if the leadership leads us to where art is not being respected, where truth is not a goal. We live in a time where critical thinking, because we know in art, decisions have to be made, and if you're really involved in art, you're deciding what does work and why it's working is right there. I guess there's no real way in which you can be creative and not understand you're taking risks. It can be the other way around. You can be taking risks and not necessarily realize you're taking risks while you're doing it. But unless you really are taking risks, the likelihood of discovery of significant impulses will get lost, they'll get hidden. Whereas if you're in the middle of a painting and you're excited about the painting and you pick up another brush of color and put it down, it has to be part of this battle that a painting is. Every painting is a lost battle. You lose the war, but the battle is won if you can communicate that sense of urgency, which I want in my work. How much is said badly so far? Because you do have to keep making choices. And unless you put something down, you're not making the choice that has to be made. So the process of painting is, in fact, a process of choices, based very much so on what you've already learned, what I've already learned, what I already do. I know what happens when I take paint at the end of a brush and rub it against the canvas. I will know a lot of those things. But if I put that to work to replicate what's already been done, I'm not taking the risks, and I'm not having the fun, and I'm not taking a chance that my work will actually teach me something, which is finally what I want. I want that discovery, the surprise. It's so so hard to have taught for so long, and the desire so often expressed is, show me how to do it. I say, yeah, go to a museum and you'll see all the things that were done. The reason they're there is not because they are the end product, although they are, but it's because they now have been accepted. If you want to learn how to be a painter, see what made them and try to figure out what energy went into the things that made them different from what is there before. I would burn down, if I really wanted to teach a number of people, I would burn down the local museum. They don't have to know what's accepted. They don't have to know how to render a painting to be a good painting. It's how to experience and make the experience of a painting become its own energy and vitality. And that should communicate enough so that the viewer, if I've done my job, the viewer who's serious, can look at it and try to see me, and in the process will see themselves. One of the marvelous things that happens when you see it and know it is creative thinking. And the best examples of creative thinking are always in opposition to doing what's right. Doing what's right is a dead end, and creative activity is energy. And I need energy so badly all the time because I'm losing energy unless I clutch it. I have to reach and make it work. And if I don't make it work today, take a deep breath. Take another deep breath. Don't rely on what I've seen or what I have done. See where this road leaves me. I want to figure it out based on the uniqueness rather than the general quality of subject that may or may not be in a painting. Because there's no right answer in art, you have to think what you put down, what's been made, what I put down, what I've made, how does it work, how does it sum up, what does it tell me about the whole painting, how is it part of the painting, how does it fit, how does it all work together, what else does it need, or what else is excessive, how do I get rid of the excessive, all of those things. I have to make decisions. It's decision making when the end is not known. Decisions have to be made along the way. And if you choose the vocabulary of art as a place in which to understand the formal qualities, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's counter to it being expressive. It's a matter of using your tools. It's not a matter of letting the tools dominate you, because if you allow that to happen, again, you pre-see how it's supposed to end, and you're not seeing what you can discover. And it also has to be what happens to good collectors, good instruction, all the rest. The idea of predetermining what is acceptable puts a terrible limit on it, and yet it needs it. It needs to. You need to know what a painting feels like, and it has to feel like a painting. It has to feel like one skin. It doesn't work if it feels like it is a reproduction of what you've already seen, or a rendering of what you've already seen and you know is okay. But it also is no good is if it doesn't have a sense of adventure plus organization, plus decision making, plus emphasis on what is valid and what communicates. So many things fall away with age. Hopefully the quality of my paintings may not have. No, I no longer am doing workshops. I can't be on my feet for the same amount of time. How I work in the studio has changed because of the same thing. I'm not as comfortable being on my feet for a longer period of time, and some of the physicality gets in the way without knowing just what it is, but it's always there. I just don't have the level of physical endurance that I could rely on. It's just not there anymore. But my desire to know the difference between shit and shinola when I see it on a wall, if it's not a good painting, it's not a good painting. And no matter what else happens, if it's not good enough, it has to get revised. It has to get worked on, discarded or something. If it's not good enough, you make changes. No, the demands of good painting is such that, no, I haven't given up. I haven't, and we all need reinforcement, we need approval, we need affirmation, and the delightful surprise for me now is that my most recent work has been labeled by people I respect as being some of the best work, if not the best work I've ever done. When I know that I'm working at my best, there will be something that will happen between me and a viewer. The viewer will really see a part of me that's uniquely me, but it's not because it's unique. That's a trap. But because it's authentic. It's what I believe at a particular moment reveals who I am instead of what I think I'm supposed to say. I think it's important to be a good citizen. I think it's a very important thing, and how do we get there? By being critical thinking, finding things which are meaningful to support and meaningful to reject is critical thinking. We do that all the time if we're making good paintings. It has to carry over into feeling that a good painting is actually a social statement. It's saying an individual is worth looking at, who's worth knowing. It's worth saying this is done by one person authentically at his best. Trying to be a socially aware person and feeling that I have a responsibility, both of citizenship and in terms of art, to be as authentic and not reaching for originality as such, but knowing that I am making a social statement that says that we have to have thinking people making critical decisions, and we have to respect that actually every painting has to have some element of a revolution within the painting itself. One of the most difficult things for all of us is to remember that we all need approval, we all need the sense of what we are doing is important, and developing a society in which that feels more natural will only come in a society that recognizes and supports art. And yes, if you want to predetermine what will be accepted, that's easy. That really is easy. Yeah, you can look at a painting that hangs in a museum before I burn it down. It hangs in a museum and say, okay, if I replicate this, I'm sure that it's very acceptable and it's fine. And if I look at it and see it as having a lot of individuality, I say, oh my, I've really taken a lot of risks in there. Not true. You haven't taken a risk if you know how it ends. One of the nice things about creativity is it becomes fun. You're not simply learning what to say, when to say it, what to show, when to show it. You are really doing something that's as alive as anything you can do. And it could happen, much more likely to happen, if you understand that it's a worthy goal to become individual in a society that respects and rewards conformity. In my creative life, I've wanted to go counter to the sense of how to get along, because that was an important part of being a social being, get along. But it was the need to also do critical thinking, critical activities, understand issues. It is a social statement. It is me against the conformed world that's out there and could have made different decisions if that's what I wanted. In my creative life, I feel that I have done something that has significance because there was discovery and achievement. TED Talks are wonderful because we see the individual. It is the individual. It is not to go along and see how successful I am by following all the possible avenues that are presented to me. But I have chosen, the TED Talk person has chosen something that is authentic and special. And boy, we can need that and we can learn from it. Oh, this is a rare privilege for me to be part of the TED Talk community. Yes, please know that I'm delighted that somebody thinks I have something important to say. And along with it, I think I have something important to say. One of the advantages of being this old, I guess.